Okay, this is the final of game one, technically, of a two-game advantage final of the 2022, quote unquote 2022 Arcadia UK Mirror, despite it being played in January 2023, between Imperial and Cambridge A. Imperial have the advantage in this advantage final. So if Imperial win this game one, then they win. Otherwise, if Cambridge win this, then we technically go to game two, an advantage final. This will be packet 10. Is everyone, Sam, are you ready to score? Yeah, everyone.
Yeah,
players
yes,
ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Reminder: one hand on screen during toss-ups, two hands on screen during bonuses, etc. Let me get chat up, and please do shout buzz when you buzz. This is toss-up 1. This technology is set to be used by KVS in Norway and Seas.ai in the United Kingdom to manage their country's energy grids. One company has patented multi-level fulfillment centers for a service using these devices that it is testing in Lockwood, California. Zipline, a company specializing in this technology, serves remote Rwandans in need of blood transfusions. The Turkish company Baykar supplied Azerbaijan with the Bayraktar brand of these devices during the Nagorno-Karabakh war. Quad rotor configurations are commercially. That is my call, Imperial.
Drones.
Yeah, for 10. Bonuses. The Education Amendments of 1972 expanded this federal law to protect women working in professional roles for 10 points each. Name this repeatedly amended law, whose passage during the New Deal limited the maximum work week to 44 hours and prohibited those under 18 from performing hazardous work such as mining and meat processing.
Anyone know American bills?
Nope. Except for spill.
Answer.
Fair working practices, direct.
This is the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, which was extended to state and local governments by Joe Garcia's lawsuit against this city's transit authority. A high school student in this city who was charged with a federal crime for bringing a handgun to school was the defendant in United States versus Lopez.
Is it, well, transit authority? I don't know, I guess it's very vague. Could it be New York or
San Francisco, maybe?
San Francisco?
Answer.
Direct San Francisco.
San Antonio.
No.
Lily Ledbetter sued Goodyear for gender pay discrimination based on this other labor law that interacts with the Equal Pay Act. This 1964 law outlawed segregation.
Oh, the Civil Rights Act, right?
Go for it.
Direct Civil Rights Act.
Yep, that's correct. For 10 on the bonus, the last of those. Toss up 2. Sorry, let me put this. Yeah, thanks, Sam. In one novel, a one-legged man recalls how this group bizarrely forced his cellmate's cousin to add pants to dozens of flamingo paintings. A member of this group is identified in a soccer stadium by John Lennon sunglasses and is later hit in his bloodshot blue eyes by a slingshot. A woman is executed by this group after she kills her abusive husband with a shovel. That woman, Mariam, does so to save Layla. A half-German member of this group named Asif sexually abuses the orphan Sohrab in a novel in which Hassan is shot by members of the... That is Enoch, Imperial.
The Kite Runners.
Say again?
The Kite Runners.
Neg 5. Sexually, in which Hassan is shot by members of this group after refusing to allow them to confiscate Baba and Amir's house. An education activist is shot by members of this group in a 2013 memoir by Malala Yousafzai. For 10 points, name this group that in Khaled Hosseini's The Kite Runner takes over Afghanistan. That is Harrison.
Taliban.
For 10. Bonuses. Pfizer's final synthetic step of Paxlovid's active compound nirmatrelvir employs an inosalt carbamate to generate the nitrile group in this type of reaction. For 10 points each, the Burgess reagent is used in what type of reaction that converts amides to nitriles?
Okay, so it's going from like a lower functional group level to higher. So it's normally like oxidation,
Answer?
but there's no oxidation reactor. It's not.
No, this is dehydration.
Yeah,
Description acceptable. The Burgess reagent has this property commonly known by a German term. Molecules with this property are also called inner salts and include betanes found in soap products.
So it's with ionic, right?
It's yeah.
Directed.
Yes, and alcohols can be dehydrated to form alkenes under conditions catalyzed by these proton-donating species.
So bases, right? Wait, hold on, it's acids, right? Yeah.
Answer?
Acids directed.
Yes, for 20 on bonus.
Nice.
Toss up 3. Okay. In Never in Anger, Jean Briggs discusses how parents of this ethnicity encourage their children to hit them with stones to teach anger management. A culture-bound syndrome of this ethnicity has drawn skepticism as resulting more from European explorers than the supposed hysteria of these people's women. That syndrome is called Piblocto. A kinship system named for this ethnicity emphasizes the nuclear family and is used in the United States. That is Michael, Imperial.
The Inuit.
410. Bonus. The narrator of this novella imagines 3 tortoises transforming into Roman colosseums in magnificent decay. And in its section, the 2 sides of a tortoise for 10 points each. Name this novella comprised of 10 stories narrated by a sailor in the Galapagos Islands. Characters in this novella include a tyrannical dog king and a stranded Chola widow named Hunila.
Any
Galapagos
ideas?
Island.
Enoch.
No. Galapagos Island. No, can't name it.
Answer?
We pass.
That's the Encantadas. This author of the Encantadas collected it along with his stories Benito Cereno and Bartleby the Scrivener in his book, The Piazza Tales.
It's presumably Herman Melville
Yep, Melville directed.
directed.
Yes, each of the stories in the Encantadas is titled for this sort of artistic work. A Washington Irving collection featuring Rip Van Winkle is framed as a book of these artworks by Jeffrey Crayon.
Artworks.
Painting or drawing or sketch maybe? Sketch.
Oh, yeah,
No,
sketch.
sketch,
Yeah,
sketch.
Direct
sketch.
sketch.
Yes, definitely sketch. Yeah.
Answer?
Sketches. Sketches
Sketch.
directed.
Yes, correct. 420 on those. Toss up 4. In April 2021, Chandra made the first detection of X-ray emissions from this object. A thermal boundary may explain this object's anomalously low luminosity, which indicates that it has near zero thermal flux. This object's magnetosphere is offset from its center by about 1/3 of its radius, causing its auroras to rotate around its poles. This object's magnetotail twists into a long corkscrew. This object is that is Enoch.
Uranus.
15.
Let's go.
Bonuses. Answer the following about how folk memories may have inspired myth for 10 points each. These animals include the extinct Megalania, whose conflict with indigenous peoples may have inspired stories of the Hui. Folk memories have been observed regarding the geographical distribution of another of these animals native to Flores Island.
What do we want?
Large
here?
lizards or yeah,
Answer?
Sure.
large lizards directed.
The child-snatching Te Hokai in this people's mythology was likely inspired by encounters with the Haast's eagle. Kupe was the first of these people's ancestors to discover their now homeland using wakas.
Polynesian.
Maori.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Maori sounds good. Yeah.
Directed.
Yeah. Oral tradition from this country's Geralde people tells of how Ngurunderi flooded a crossing between the mainland and Carter Pintinga, the rainbow serpent created songlines during this country's dream time.
Australia.
Radio directed.
Yeah, all 30 of those. Toss up 5. In pocket houses, older members of this ethnic group slept on the south wall and younger members slept on the north wall in heated brick beds. This ethnic group forcibly employed servants called Boy Ah Ka, and one of its leaders issued the 7 grievances. As a reward for his defection at that is Justin.
Manchu.
15. Bonuses. Frederick Trigo Pula made a parody of the Mona Lisa wearing a quayle mask to compare the use of this ratio in traditional African sculpture and Western painting for 10 points each. Name this ratio. Audrey Bennett has used the architecture of Logan Birney and statues of the Warua Master to argue that Fibonacci studies in Beijing may have inspired his promulgation of this aesthetic ratio in Europe.
It has to be
Or the
golden
golden
ratio.
ratio, yeah.
Directed.
Yep, Triga Pula drew inspiration from Congolese Nkise sculptures, which are embedded with these objects. These objects appear on the hands of a sufferer of ergotism in a 1516 artwork sculpted by Nicolaus Hagenauer.
What these what?
Objects.
Ergotism.
Rings?
Sure.
It means
Answer?
they're rotting away.
Rings directed.
Nails.
Yeah.
Similar in role to Nkise, the Luba used a prestige one of these objects made by the Warua Master. A spirit called a Sumsum is contained in one of these objects that is always displayed on its side and is covered in bells and brass weights.
What?
On its side.
Answer? That's
Coffin.
time. These are stools, as in golden stool, etc. Toss up 6. This play's protagonist offers to let a guest stay the night in one of the 3 empty nurseries in his house. One character in this play reminds another of his promise to carry her off like a troll to a kingdom in Spain or some such place. A fire that destroyed 9 lovely dolls caused a fever in the breastfeeding wife of this play's protagonist that killed their infant sons. This play's protagonist ends his relationship with Kea after expressing fear. Harrison.
Ghosts.
Next 5, expressing fear of the young. Sorry, let me put the marquee. After expressing fear of the younger generation represented by her fiancé, Ragnar, this play's protagonist promises to build a castle in the air. Hilda Wangel convinces this play's protagonist to place a wreath upon a church steeple, causing him to fall to his death. For 10 points, name this Henrik Ibsen play about the architect Halvard Solness. That's Enoch.
Master Builder.
Yeah, for 10. Bone says, during the core collapse of a supernova, this process is responsible for splitting iron nuclei into helium nuclei and photons for 10 points each. Name this process by which high-energy electromagnetic radiation causes a nucleus to excite and then split into smaller elements while emitting neutrons, protons, or alpha particles.
What do you call this again? I mean, they're implying something to do with gamma radiation.
Neutrons, protons, and alpha particles.
Gamma splitting.
Answer?
Gamma splitting directed.
Photodisintegration. After Chadwick and Goldhaber discovered the photodisintegration of deuterium, this scientist and Rudolf Tierlis found a theoretical explanation during a 4-hour train ride. Gamow humorously added this scientist to a paper that he wrote with his student Ralph Alpher.
I don't know.
Haven't heard of it before.
So there's nothing to go on here. Pass.
Answer? This is Hans Bether, the Alpha Bether Gamow thing. Hans Bether later worked on the Manhattan Project and the project to develop this 2nd-generation nuclear bomb, which culminated in the Teller Ulam design and is named for its central light element.
Hydrogen bomb?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
Direct.
Hydrogen bomb, direct
Yep.
bomb.
For 10 on the bonus. Yeah, that's fine. All right, toss up 7. A goodwill trip that this person made with George Ravare to establish schools in Egypt helped popularize Taha Hussein among Western audiences. John Macy inspired this person to write the essay collection Out of the Dark. This person wrote that the Socialist Party was too slow in dealing with how poverty drove women to a life of shame in the essay Why I Became an IWW. This co-founder of the ACLU promoted the Talking Books programs. Alexander Graham Bell helped this person attend the Perkins Institute and learned the Tadoma method.
Yeah.
That's Harrison.
Helen Keller.
For 10. Bonus. Derry Aoyu's hair has grown to the ground when she comes back from the dead in an Ika Kuniawan novel titled For This Concept for 10 points each. Name this concept, which names a character who abruptly floats to the sky while folding sheets, as well as a green-haired character whose death prompts her sister to stop speaking for 9 years.
Oh,
Do we know what system we're in?
I mean-
House Spirits IND. I missed what the
Yeah.
what they
so
were.
This
a-
concept.
it's a concept. What's
Answer?
it?
What kind of concept? Like
Spirits direct.
Beauty.
Okay.
This author described Sierva's abundant hair growing after her death from rabies in Of Love and Other Demons. This author created Remedios the Beauty and other members of the Buendia family in his novel 100 Years of Solitude.
Garcia Marquez.
Yes.
Direct.
Yep. After his wife died, this poet lamented spaces without her and claimed that her hair had grown when he had her exhumed. This poet coined the word yesteryear in his translation of Francois Villon's The Ballad of Dead Ladies.
Is this the person who wrote like Where Are the Times of Yesteryear or something? I don't know what that is.
Is that Loveless? I don't
Try it.
know.
Answer?
Try it.
No, this is Dante Gabriel Rossetti.
Ah,
Oh, sure.
For 10 on the bonus. Toss up 8. For a 2018 revival, Catherine Zuber costumed this musical's protagonist in shades of blue and used lilac for a scene originally staged in black and white costumes. A rising C major arpeggio followed by 2 Bs is sung on the title of this musical's most famous number, which opens with the lyrics, "Bed, bed, I couldn't go to bed." This music buzz from Michael.
My Fair Lady.
Yeah, of course, yeah, for 15. Your bonus. This politician attended the Paris Peace Conference under a pseudonym meaning Yuen Win, the Patriot, and attempted to recruit leading French socialists to support the Third International for 10 points each, named as supporter for Vietnamese self-determination, the first president of North Vietnam.
Ho Chi Minh?
I mean, he did go or something like that, but
Go for it. We should go for it.
direct Ho Chi Minh.
Yep. After his arrest for looting the Ban Thi Shrey temple, this man began agitating against colonial corruption in Indochina by co-founding a predecessor of the Viet Minh. Charles de Gaulle tapped this man to be the first head of the Ministry of Culture.
This is more specific. I have no idea.
We French, some French guy.
There's many of them.
Answer?
Pass.
This is André Malraux.
Ah,
The 1930 Phu Rien Do strikes targeted French colonial corruption in this industry. Atrocities committed by Europeans to enforce African quotas in this industry were reported by Roger Casement.
is this like that? Is that the Belgian thing, like rubber?
Rubber.
Direct rubber.
Yes, for 20 on the bonus. Toss-up 9. Richard Holden and Anuf Malani proposed the use of blockchain to ensure that one type of this practice is unobservable and simultaneous between parties, thus avoiding the hold-up problem. According to the Fisher separation theorem, a firm's decision to partake in this practice is independent of its owner's preferences. Dale Jorgensen's theory of this practice claims that a firm seeking to maximize net worth is constrained by the rate of growth of capital stock, calculated as this practice minus replacement. An increase in government borrowing may lead to crowding out of this practice in the private sector. Harry Markowitz measured individuals' risk aversion to this practice in the modern portfolio theory. For 10 points, that is Harrison.
Investment.
For 10.
Had to be.
Bonus. Sarah Wakefield and Christopher Ugan argue that these facilities, which some view as a social deterrent or continuation of residential segregation, contribute greatly to stratification in modern American society, for 10 points each. Name these facilities that Michelle Alexander denounced as the new Jim Crow for their systemic oppression of people of color and figurative continuation of slavery.
Prisons. Direct.
Yep. Wakefield and Ugan define incarcerated people to be one of these entities. Max Weber coined this term to form a three-part theory of stratification that includes classes and parties.
You want
Like
something
iron-
more general than class.
Iron cage, or okay, then just I don't know.
Try
military.
iron cage if it's
Answer?
anything else.
Direct.
This is Stände, or status groups. In The Hidden Cost of Being African American, Thomas Shapiro stresses the importance of family wealth to this process. Alan Kruger created the Great Gatsby curve to illustrate an intergenerational form of this process.
I mean, he already said wealth, so it's not wealth. Intergenerational
Like
Something
accumulation,
that's
property, maybe?
accumulation, or what? Sorry, what did you say?
Accumulation.
Answer?
Try accumulation directed.
This is social mobility.
Hmm.
For 10 on the bonus and toss up 10. The synthesis of the western half of a complex of this metal had a key intermediate called cornerstone. An alloy of this non-titanium metal with chromium is a common material for bone implants. This element is crucial for organizing the cyclization event of a Seco-Corin ring in Woodward and Eckenmoser's 12-year total synthesis of a coordination compound of this metal. Alfred Werner pioneered coordination chemistry by proposing the octahedral structure of a hexamine complex of this metal. The conversion of homocysteine to methionine requires a cofactor that contains this. That's Abigail.
Cobalt.
For 10.
Nice.
Bonuses. A 2022 National Geographic show follows a climbing team led by Alex Honnold searching for undiscovered species atop one of these islands in the clouds for 10 points each. Name these magnificent table mountains of the Guiana Shield like Mount Roraima. The name of these mountains means House of the Gods in Pimon.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it looks
Answer?
like we have nothing.
Andes. Direct.
These are Tepuy. The Guiana Shields, plateaus, and Tepuy make it home to many well-known examples of these features, like Cayuta and Angel. The Parana River's damming inundated one of these features with the highest flow rate in the world.
Waterfall.
Waterfalls.
Direct.
Yep. Most tepui are composed of aronite high in this mineral, lending them their unique shape. Artigas, Uruguay, is a leading producer of a gemstone made of this mineral, whose shocked form is found in the Chicxulub crater.
Did he say shooked or shocked?
Shocked form, I think.
Shocked.
Not really sure what that means.
Shocked emerald, shocked opal.
Answer?
Opal directed.
This is quartz.
Yeah, shock course is created by meteors and stuff.
For 10 on the bonus and
Okay.
scores at the half, Sam?
So at the half, I have Cambridge Yale on 85 and Imperial on 170.
All right.
Toss up 11. Contemporary nationalists have used this polity's expansionary red apple myth to promote irredentism. To form this polity's standard, the motto, "Until it fills the world," was added to an object dreamt by its founder. A foundational myth of this polity,
Buzz.
that's Abigail.
The Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, 15, good buzz. Bonus. In a play, the protagonists realize upon hearing muffled pipe music that this group has stowed away in barrels on a ship bound for England for 10 points each. Identify this group of characters, which mocks the mortality of two men who eventually disappear from view. In another play, the protagonist decides to use these characters to catch the conscience of the king.
These are the players. Direct.
Prompt from what play?
Either Hamlet or Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Oh, this always
Go
happens. Go for
We
Hamlet.
go
I mean, it's both. It's both. So it's
Hamlet.
Hamlet or both.
The players from
Answer?
Hamlet directed.
They are both right.
Yeah, you are right. They are both right, but I need one that directed. Yeah, that's right. This playwright examined Hamlet's meta-theatrical elements in his absurdist tragicomedy, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. He also wrote Arcadia.
Stopper direct.
What?
Yep. In Tom Stoppard's play The Real Thing, Annie's relationship with the director Henry sours when she is cast as this play's lead. Hippolyta tries to poison her ex-lover at his wedding in this play, but instead dies of poison herself.
This is by Cornet, or not Cornet. This is by Racine, isn't it? So what's
I'm not going to have it, so just guess.
Phaedra, maybe? Phaedra, direct.
This is 'Tis Pity She's a Whore by John Ford. And that's 20 on the bonus. Toss up 12. A family of these proteins with a prenellated C-terminal tail binds tether factors to match V and T snares during membrane fusion. An amphipathic helix embeds one of these proteins into the ER membrane to initiate COPE2 coat assembly. The pertussis and diphtheria toxins ADP ribosilate one of these proteins. This family includes a protein which drives a cycle that traffics importins and exportins into and out of the nucleus. Small monomeric proteins. Sorry, Enoch.
Small GTPases
Hold on a sec. Don't say anything.
or GG protein.
What was your what answer did you give?
Small GTPases, which is part
I
of
can
the
take that.
protein.
I can take that. Yeah, for 10. G proteins is what I had, but I can accept GTPs. Your bonuses. In Amana letter EA35, Alashia's king holds the hand of Nergal, a plague responsible for a shortage in this commodity for 10 points each. Name this commodity. The subject of the earliest complaint letter targeted at the merchant Ian Nasir. The kingdom of Dilmun produced this good, which was often shaped into an oxide for trade purposes.
It's a metal. It's like iron.
Copper.
What?
Copper.
Copper. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Direct copper.
Yes, hundreds of copper oxide ingots were discovered within one of these things by a local sponge diver off the coast of Uluburan. The Phoenicians used one of these objects known as a bireme.
Must be a ship. Bireme, right? Like trireme.
Yeah.
And Phoenicians are ship traders. Ship
Sure.
directed.
Yes, sorry for mispronouncing. I didn't
No, no,
realize
no.
till after I said it. A limestone mold for the oxide ingot was found at Ras ibn Hani, located near this ancient Levantine trade center that was leveled by the Sea Peoples. This city's language was used to write the Baal cycle.
This isn't like-
Egypt somewhere.
No, it could be. It's Levant. It's higher. It's not like Ugarit, right?
Could be. Go
Like
for it.
Ugaritic.
Go for it.
Answer?
Ugarit is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. I had the direct anyway, and yes, that's
Yeah, I
correct.
can remember the word direct. It was no problem.
yeah, that's fine. For all 30 of those. Toss up 13. A painting depicting this man was inspired by the Sweetness of Revenge section of Antar, A museum curator jumped in front of a train upon hearing that an icon painter cried enough of the bloodshed and attacked a painting that depicts this man. A building commissioned by this man resembles an 8-pointed star and includes a 9th chapel dedicated to the intercession. In 2018, a drunk man with a pole damaged a figure who was being held by this man on a red carpet near a staff in a Tretiakov gallery painting. This man appears terrified as he attempts to stop blood flowing from his son's head in an that is Adam.
I've been terrible.
For 10.
Yeah.
Bonus. Telugu families may celebrate this event with a Langa Voni ceremony, during which the honoree is gifted a half sari to wear until marriage for 10 points each. Name this event. In some areas of Nepal, girls first undergo the dangerous practice of chowpadi, or seclusion in a hut, for up to 14 days after this event, which signals entrance into womanhood.
Like losing your
First menstruation, first period.
It's either
Yeah, I
first
think that's-
period or
First
losing your
period.
virginity.
Go for it.
Yes.
First period.
Directed.
Get directed.
What are you directing, sorry?
First period.
Yes, that's correct. During the Langa Voni ceremony, the honoree invokes this deity to ask for prosperity. Diyas guide this deity towards Rangoli decorated homes during another holiday.
A god normally associated with a different holiday.
Maybe like
Answer?
Parvati or something.
Sure. Direct
Directed.
Parvati.
Lakshmi.
Ah.
The Langa Voni ceremony is equivalent to the less common Kashanta ceremony for boys, which involves performing this action. Members of a different Indian religion, conversely, do not perform this action to honor Kesh.
Cut their hair, right? This is talking about Sikhism, it's the people who don't
Yeah,
cut
yeah.
their hair.
Okay.
So cut their hair directed.
Yeah, I can take that for 20 on the bonus. Toss up 14. A woman in this novel is reminded of the smell of the beach at St. Tredenick and screams when she feels wet seaweed touch her neck. A man in this novel marks his forehead with red mud to symbolize the mark of Cain when he fakes his death. Grey knitting wool and a red oil silk curtain go missing in this novel, in which a woman notices that her room has a white marble clock shaped like a bear. After a woman drags a doctor's corpse past the high tide watermark in this novel's climax, she pickpockets a man's revolver and shoots him. After the ex-governess Vera Claythorne hangs herself in this novel, that's Justin.
And then there were none.
Oh
For 10.
My God.
Bonus.
How did I
For
not
any,
get it?
for any probability distribution, this function denoted lambda, or h, is equivalent to the PDF over 1 minus the CDF for 10 points each. Name this function. In the Cox model, one of these functions is expressed as a baseline one of these functions multiplied by the exponential of the response of a multiple linear regression.
Nope.
Statistics. No, I don't think we know.
Answer?
Pass.
Hazard functions.
Hmm.
Hazard functions are integral to this branch of statistics that models the time until an event of interest, such as death or failure. The namesake function of this branch of statistics can be approximated with a Kaplan-Meier curve.
It's impossible.
Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know.
Go for it. YOLO.
Plasson directed.
This is survival analysis.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about something.
In order to compare the survival distributions of two groups, an investigator performs the log rank type of this procedure. These procedures formulate a null example of a namesake statement, which is rejected if the p-value is small enough.
A test, right?
No,
Yeah.
Verage is like hypothesis or test. Just test, right?
Go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
Direct
Answer?
test.
Prompt.
Hypothesis.
Hypothesis testing?
Directed. Direct that.
Yes, hypothesis tests. For 10 on the bonus. And toss up 15, we'll have the score check after that. All right, toss up. The second edition of the Principia Mathematica begins by defining propositions named after these objects, which are essentially n-adic relations. In the original Ogden translation of Wittgenstein's Tractatus, Sac Verhaltes is translated as this kind of fact, rather than the now standard states of affairs. Russell's analysis of language into metaphysically basic simples is described as a logical... That is Imperial. Sorry, Imperial, Michael.
Atom.
Yes, for 15. Sorry, my bad. Obviously, it was you anyway. Your bonuses. One of these places at Michigan State University inspired Ellen Taft-Zwillich's Fourth Symphony, in which a chorus repeats Fragilis after singing a litany of its constituents for 10 points each. Name these places. A set of nocturnes for piano and orchestra named for these places once had a tango that was instead used as a pantomime in its composer's ballet, Love the Magician.
I love the
Oh,
Magician. It's a Spanish guy.
That's the fire, but it wants the places. I don't know what it's based on.
Answer?
No, I don't think we know.
That's time. It's gardens, as in Nights in the Gardens of Spain.
Oh,
in
that's what
the
it's
gar-
originally called, yeah.
In the Gardens, Litany for Endangered Plants precedes a meditation on living ones of these remains. In Carnival of the Animals, xylophones played Danse Macabre in a movement about these dinosaur remains.
Fossils. Yeah, fossils directed.
Yeah. AD Major Sesquialtera opens this piece by Joaquin Rodrigo about a set of gardens that Ferdinand VI rebuilt. Chick Corea's Spain samples a theme from this piece's adagio that starts on an F-sharp mordent.
No. It has to be the the Concerto Tarantes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Direct that.
It is that, yeah. For 20 on the bonuses and score check, please.
So I have Cambridge A 120, Imperial 295.
Okay. Abigail, is that about right? Plus or minus 5?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Toss up 16. 1 second. Okay. The phrase, "and now it is waste," repeatedly appears in a text commissioned by this ruler, leading historians to question whether it refers to water. Justin.
William the Conqueror.
For 15. Great buzz.
Oh, is it the Doomsday Book? Is that what it is?
Whilst they are
Yeah, very
I'm going
nice.
to guess so. Your bonus. In The Habit of Racism, Helen Ingo draws on Maurice Merleau-Ponty's method in this field of philosophy to understand how racism is embodied in our habits and ingrained in our modes of perception for 10 points each. Name this philosophical field that studies the structures of consciousness as experienced from a first-person point of view.
Phenomenology.
Is that what that? Okay.
It's Merleau-Ponty. Direct
sure.
phenomenology.
Yep. Lewis Gordon uses this thinker's argument that anti-Semites engage in bad faith by refusing to engage in self-creation as a basis for understanding anti-Black racism. This French existentialist wrote Being and Nothingness.
So Sartre directed.
Yep. This book's author argues against applying Sartre's analysis of anti-Semitism to anti-Black racism by distinguishing between perceived capability and incapability. This book analyzed the lived experience of the Black man through the author's experience of a little white girl pointing out his race on the street.
Probably like Black Skin, White Mask or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good.
It couldn't ring a bell or anything, so yeah.
Direct Black Skin, White Mask.
That's correct, yep, for all 30.
Nice.
Toss-up 17. This phrase is described as demonstrating mournful and never-ending remembrance in an essay that praises this phrase for being sonorous and susceptible to emphasis. The speaker of a poem feels perfumed from an unseen censer and begins to quaff this kind nepenthe after hearing this phrase, which is rendered as the same two-word translation by both Stéphane Mallarmé and Charles Baudelaire. The essay, The Philosophy of Composition, recounts a poet's choice to use this phrase repeatedly in a comparison.
Nevermore.
For 10.
Nice.
Bonus. On it, a 2010 study by E et al. Found that the fastest known example of human allele frequency change in Tibetans, among whom one of these variations in hypoxia-associated EPASI is becoming rapidly fixed, for 10 points each. Namely genetic markers, whose relationships to specific phenotypes like altitude adaptation can be elucidated via genome-wide association studies.
Altitude, so
these are just like the markers where you can find the most like direct. So,
the right answer.
I don't have any.
So like location markers.
That's time. It's SNP, single nucleotide polymorphisms.
Sure.
Altitude adaptation can be regulated in this manner, as indicated by high DNA methylation of erythropoiesis associated genes among Quechua people. This type of inheritance relies on factors beyond nucleotide sequence.
Epigenetic, maybe.
I mean that's like not the actual gene, so that could make sense. Yeah, go for it.
Epigenetic, direct.
Yep. While Himalayan populations come by much of their altitude tolerance via upregulation of the HIF pathway, Andean populations seem to upregulate the hypoxia response pathway involving this small molecular vasodilator.
Like nitrous oxide or something. I don't think that's correct.
Answer?
Direct that in.
Nitrous oxide, I don't think so. Directed.
It's nitric oxide, which is
no.
different. Unlucky. 410 on the bonus. Toss up 18. At a cult site dedicated to this deity, trespassing humans were unable to cast shadows and cursed to die within a year. A fiery flash emerging from a cave marked the annual rebirth of this deity as a youthful vegetation deity syncretized with the god Volcanos. The consumption of animal and human entrails at a cult site to this god on Mount Lycaon transformed a human into a wolf for 9 years. Dione acted as this god's consort at a site where priests listened to the rustling of oak leaves to hear his divinations. That is Adam.
Zeus.
For 10.
Yeah, Zeus like Kenan.
Bonuses. John Kerrigan's essay titled For This Character's Variations explores how Drusilla Cornell compared this character to Toni Morrison's Seth for their crime of infanticide for 10 points each. Name this character who poisons a set of robes for Princess Glauca before stabbing her children to exact revenge on her ex-husband Jason. She then flies away on Helios's chariot.
Medea. Directed.
Yep. This poet called herself Kali Medea, the unwomanly woman in flight from motherhood in Of Women Born. This poet mourned a book of myths in which our names do not appear in Diving into the Wreck.
Adrienne Rich. So Rich directed.
Yep.
Directed.
Medea lives in a trailer and dies in a fire in this playwright's version of Medea. This author's version of Antigone, produced under Nazi censorship, features 3 guards who continue playing cards after Antigone's death.
Is
Ennui,
this
right? Yeah, Ennui. It's because it's Antigone. Right?
Yeah, Ennui. Ennui directed.
Yep, that's correct for all 30 of those. Toss up 19. Gelman, Oakes, and Renner estimated the size of one instance of this process in QCD by relating the pion masses to the quark condensate. In a 2016 experiment that placed 10 ytterbium ions in a line and periodically drove them, this process led to the formation of a time crystal. In some versions of this process, fluctuations of a non-zero vacuum expectation value are called Nambu-Goldstone bosons. Landau theory describes how this phenomenon occurs in continuous phase transitions, as seen in the loss of isotropy in the ferromagnetic transition. The Higgs mechanism describes how this process generates the mass of the W and Z bosons. For 10 points, that is Abigail.
The weak force.
Neg 5. For 10 points, name this name this process which can be spontaneous and describes a system's loss of the mathematical property of being invariant under certain. That's Michael.
Symmetry breaking.
For 10. Bonuses. In 2022, this event's director, Thierry Frémaux, pointed to Claire Denis and Valeria Bruno Tedeschi as examples of nominated female directors amidst criticism about representation for 10 points each. Name this French film festival that awards the Palme d'Or.
Cannes directed. Cannes.
Yep. This New Zealand director was the first woman to receive the Palme d'Or for her film The Piano. A boy who builds a lasso discovers a man with Bronco Henry's gay porn magazines in this director's film The Power of the Dog.
In Campion directed.
Yes, yeah.
Yep. In 2021, this film caused Julia Ducournau to become the first woman to win 2 Palme d'Or. A showgirl grows metallic plates and has sex with a fire truck in this body horror film.
Titan directed.
Yep, for all 30 of those. And toss up the last. In 2022, Elena Uriost and the Chineke Orchestra premiered a version of these pieces with a grittier punk rock sound. Jean-Jacques Rousseau just transcribed one of these pieces for solo flute. Analog synthesizers play in a 10th anniversary software update. That is Michael.
Goldberg Variations.
Neg 5. Postmodern rendition of these pieces, whose British composer discarded 75% of them. In the slow movement of the first of these pieces, an 8th note and quarter note comprise an unreferenced sempre forte viola motif. Muted strings and brise harpsichord play the only movement in these pieces that lacks a melody, which follows a dance and song of the peasants. Max Richter recomposed these pieces, which Francesco Geminiani derided for imitating birdsong. These concerti were published with accompanying sonnets for 10 points, namely concerti that opened the contest between harmony and invention by Antonio Vivaldi. Abigail.
Four Seasons.
For 10. And final bonuses. Altean revolutionaries of the Burkhanist religious movement attempted to enter this conflict as the Karakoram government to rebuild Genghis Khan's empire with little success, for 10 points each. Name this conflict between the Bolsheviks' Red Army and the Whites allied with the Tsar.
So the Russian Civil War.
Yes, the Irkun Revolt and the Kokand Massacre during the Russian Civil War sparked this 20-year-long guerrilla uprising that destabilized Soviet rule in Central Asia. Ibrahim Bek and the war criminal Enver Pasha died while leading this rebellion.
20 years. So like until like 1938 or so.
Yeah, this is.
I mean, it just shows the whole interwar period, so it's not that helpful.
Yeah, it's a really famous thing, but I can't remember the name.
Answer?
Don't think we're getting it past.
That's time. Basmaki movement.
Okay.
And the reformist Jadids, who often called themselves by this adjective, vied for Central Asian power alongside Basmakis during the Russian Civil War. Enver Pasha was one of 3 pashas who led a similar movement named for this adjective.
I don't know. Righteous? I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry.
Answer?
Correct.
This is Young.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
For 10 on the bonus, and that's the game. Scores?
So I have Imperial. I have Cambridge A 155, Imperial 415.
GG. So
Yeah.
Imperial win the tournament. Congrats.
Yeah, guys.
Didn't need the
Okay.
second final.
Adam, go to your date.
Well
Enoch,
played.